we've got 8 habits and we've got like 9 minutes, okay? And I plan on cranking through this, so you guys kind of have a choice on what works best for you. I'll kind of explain just how each of these works, and then, like I said, go into Padlet or on your piece of paper, think of, find your words that work for you, or add new words. It's kind of like your levels of learning. This is what Stephen Covey will come in and they'll say, oh, they are using the habits, be proactive, okay? It's the next step if you're telling your kids you're in charge, that's the definition. You get another step if you are actually having them think about what the habit looks like. So it's just like your levels of learning in your classroom, you know, from basic knowledge and how you apply it. All of these are on the Leader in Me website. If you don't have printables, you go in, there are PDFs, there's like 5 different poster styles. These have cut out vocabulary words so that you can even use these. And they have them for every habit in different styles. And so they've got cute little pictures and different graphics. So if any of those look like anything you want to remember, you can stick in the Padlet, write it down. And like I said, you can download it. Does anybody have any different words that they would use with that, with being proactive? Okay, and I'm gonna add some in because there was a whole nother common language thing where they did it as not this but this. And so if you teach that way in your classroom and you're looking, and I'll add that in later, we only had, you know, time for so much, but that just will give you extra, you know, language that you can use. And then there's the habit too. And it is, like I said, those are good, and you can see if you look at the different levels and how they go and progress in difficulty for your kids. This is the one this is the one I tend to overuse, work first then play, but it really is one that, for me to refocus my kids, is one that I use a lot. But then a different way to think of it is regroup, and then, you know, get on task. And so it does give you alternatives, so you're not just saying the same things over and over.
Habit number 2, something I always tell them is that a goal is just a wish without a plan.
Yes, that was when we used to have.
All the time. Kids say it because, like, we could. Well, my goal is this. My goal. Well, I have a lot of wishes too. If I don't plan to take care of them, you know, if I'm going to eat that, you know, just the. I try to get them to continuously say that.
If you've got your Padlet up, add that in there, because that is a good one. And there were a couple other good ones I'll stick in here at the end. But these are words, but even with your little ones, you know, kindness, you know, are both of you being kind? And so it'll take you, like I said, through the different levels and look for those words. And all of this is printable and in Stephen Covey in different formats.
That's a big one, like what you were saying earlier, is the kids really just don't take the time to understand from somebody else's point of view. They don't even think about it. Because I'll have times where kids are rude to me and I just go, wait a minute, did I hurt your feel? Like, if they're like, I look at them like, did I hurt your feelings somewhere along the way? And they're like, they're shocked that I even asked, and they're like, no. Well, was I rude to you or something? Did something happen that I did that made you feel hurt, or like I disrespected you? And they're like, no. I'm like, you can tell me for real, because I do not, like, I make a big deal about it, and I'm like, because I would fix it if I was rude to you. I would fix it and apologize. And then, you know, finally just go, well, if I didn't do any of those things to you, you know, why are you doing them to me? And then they're like,
Yeah, and then that's where you can then stick that language in, or that habit in with it. And this was something, and that ties in to all of that with one of the things I found on the website. They don't use social contract, they use win-win agreement. And so Tiffany changed it in hers, but they said to make sure to let your teams know to maybe use win-win agreement instead of social contract. And then there was also a change in the
Is that
common
when we write
language
the-
for the leadership roles.
Your roles
When we write our,
beginning of the year.
beginning of
Yes.
the year social contract where they also.
It
Change
can
it
be
to
win-win
win-win.
agreement.
win-win
Because
agreement.
then, because Stephen Covey refers to that as the social contract, but it's using leader and me language.
And another thing too I've done is show clips, because you don't realize it, and I didn't realize it until after we had started Leader in Me, but when you watch movies, a lot of times they use Leader in Me language, like, oh, that's a win-win, or
Yes.
you'll hear it on commercials, you'll hear it on movies, and so if you Google that, you can pull up, because I think sometimes they think that's just something that they see here, but I've had kids that are like, oh, I watched a movie that said something about, we're gonna begin, because it is a national language, and so sometimes you'll find, even kids' movies will go throw those kind of things in just randomly, and it catches your attention because you make that connection to it.
Yeah, and it is, I mean, we used to kind of, when we first started it, it was like, well, it's just common sense. He found the common language. Stephen Covey put together common language of what really is just the common basics of behavior, you know, and goals and things that you use in life. But he found the common language and made a lot of money off of it, you know. So, and then habit 6, synergize, and that I think also is something, I know 5th grade you guys do a lot with your kiddos, and this is then, you know, tying in a lot of your collaborative learning and things like that. And that's gonna be really important to make sure they understand that habit if they're actually really working together. And I love that our administration is really good with this. And I did, like I said, I went through it quick, but we're going on time because you guys are much more vocal. My first group was really quiet. But I do appreciate our administration encouraging to take care of ourselves, and this year is gonna be different. And so, we also have to take care of our kids and ourselves. So, like I said, again, it's all there. If you think when you see habit 7, if it's just, or any of the habits that comes into your mind, and you're like, yeah, like Jen did, you know, or you mentioned any vocabulary, stick it in that Padlet so that we can build off of it. Habit 8, I don't know if you guys, were you trained in habit 8? A little,
bit.
okay. This one I think is also really good, and this we've used before when you come up with your classroom jobs, you know, because you're also looking, another word in here is your native genius. What were some of the other ones? Your native genius. We've had some other words before that we use, and then think of that, of habit 8, especially when you're doing your classroom jobs. And they had a couple of others besides the win-win agreement. Something that will come here into habit 8 is, are you leading yourself? And are you leading others? And that ties a lot into habit 8, because once you know how to lead yourself, and what are the ways you lead yourself, in what ways you lead yourself the best, what are your strengths, and then how do you lead others? You know, it goes another step. You're leading others, but how do you lead others? And that will help also behaviorally with your kiddos to do that. If you want it as a classroom activity, this is in the Leader in Me, and you can use it in your classroom, and you can ask your kids, what does it look like? You know, what do the habits look like? It's kind of another way almost of building your social contract. You know, what would you hear and what would you feel?
Is that something that's printable that you can?
Yes,
print
all of this is, these are all printables in the website. And if not, I can get it for you and I can give you this. Okay, and this is where we end. This is what we don't have time for, but for something for you to think about.
Can you go back to that other slide right there?
Sure.
You don't mind.
No, I don't mind at all. PBIS was Give Me 5. And when the school started out, you know, that's what we had was PBIS, and everybody, and if you've had it and you know the 5 fingers, you know, eyes on the speaker, etc. There's all these fun, cute signals now that are being used, and we have, waterfall, and those are fun and good to use, but we've lost the school-wide signal. And it's gone, and so we wanna bring back the school-wide signal, so that if we ever have assemblies, or when they're traveling to different places, or if they're with a different teacher or an administrator, they can get the kids' attention. So we want a PBIS, school-wide, but we might wanna change it and tailor it to using common language and Leader in Me. And that's something that will come later, and it's not the only one, like Beth said, we'll have that, but then in your classrooms, you can still have your cues that you use with your kids. But we wanna teach a common one, and we're gonna work on that at some point in the future. Sam was already thinking of it, but we might even go like LEAD, lead, and then it becomes a vocal, give me 5. Sam was already coming up with what the L stood for, the E, the A, the D, so.